What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the two new exotic weapons that Fortnite added today, the Unstable Thunderclap DMR and Unstable Bounce Grenades. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more. Comment down below what you think of these new exotic weapons, and if you would like to use my code in the item shop, it is EvolveJake, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So, both the exotic DMR and the exotic grenades were added in today's update, as I said, and you get these randomly by defeating the Overlord Spires, the big purple spires. When you defeat these spires will drop a random unstable exotic weapon, along with some other loot, but this is how you get the exotic weapons. And now with the addition of these two, there are 5 unstable exotic weapons in the loot pool, so you really aren't guaranteed to see these new weapons game to game. The addition of these two more, exotics definitely decreases your chances of getting either of the exotic shotguns or the exotic pistol from the Spire, which is pretty unfortunate because I think those other 3 exotics are significantly better than these two new additions, and I think most people will kind of just see these to as bloat to the loot pool or something that makes it harder for them to get what they actually want. Both of these new exotics I really don't think are that great. So the DMR, its effect sounds good in that it's some of your shots will deal explosive damage, which will deal 40 bonus explosive damage to your enemy. The base damage of it is 50, so if you hit your shot as an exploding shot, you'll get 50 for the hit and 40 for the explosive damage, which is 90 total, which is not bad at all. That damage sounds great, right? The description of this weapon makes it sound like it's going to be random, but it's actually the first, 4th, 7th, and 10th shot of every magazine will deal bonus explosive damage. So you can kind of know which ones are going to be exploding shots and which ones aren't going to be if that's something you really care about. There's 2 things that really hurt this weapon though, I think. And the first is going to be that its base stats aren't the greatest. They match the rare or the blue version of the DMR. So you're kind of getting middle of the road as far as base damage goes. When you use this exotic version, which you would think, okay, maybe the explosive damage makes up for that. It's a little bit weaker, but that bonus damage will add up over the course of the fight. And it definitely could, but I also think the bullet drop is worse with this exotic version. I could be wrong on this because I haven't used the DMR an absurd amount this season to have a perfect feel for the bullet drop on it. But every time I've used the DMR, there's been drop, it's been noticeable, but it's not outrageous how much you had to lead, right? With this exotic version, I felt like I had to lead so much more, especially above enemies, the drop was significant. I had to lead so much higher on enemies, and that just made it much worse to use and much more awkward to use, I feel like. And the drop just felt much worse to me with this exotic version than it ever has before with the DMR this entire season. Overall, I don't like this weapon very much, and I don't really like the DMR this season as is, because when using the DMR, I feel compelled to use a spray weapon to combo with my pump, because pump DMR, it can work if your aim is perfect and if things work out perfectly for you, but it's also very fragile in that if you miss your DMR shot, you're probably just going to straight up lose the fight. It's not very forgiving at all, and because of that, I want to use the pump shotgun. It's my favorite shotgun. So because of that, if I'm going to use the DMR, I feel like I have to use some sort of spray weapon as well. And when using this DMR today, I was using the Fury, which worked out okay. But I would rather be using double mobility than 3 weapons, or I would rather be using mobility and a scanner than 3 weapons. The value this DMR provided to me did not feel greater than that extra mobility item or greater than having the scanner in my inventory. So I don't really care for this DMR as a weapon. Even if I did really want to use the DMR, I would much rather be using the mythic version that you can get from Core on Island because the damage is just straight better. And as I said, I feel like the drop is much worse on the exotic version than any of the other DMRs in the loot pool now. So as I said, you can get this from the large spires, but you can actually purchase this exotic DMR from the Midas NPC at Utopia City. I believe you have to do some expertise quest to be able to unlock this. For me, it was already done, and as I said, I don't use the DMR much. The price for me was 1,000, but I'm not sure if this is because I haven't done much of the expertise quests. Maybe it would go down as you do more. That's typically how these expertise things have worked. But for me, it was 1,000 gold from the Midas NPC at Utopia City. So if you really love this DMR for whatever reason, this would be a way to get it consistently. Also, when it came to shooting at cars for the explosive damage, it didn't seem like I was ever getting splash damage through the car. No time where I was shooting at cars did I get splashed through, like a lot of other explosive weapons do. But I'm not sure if this was just because maybe I wasn't close enough to the enemy to actually hit them with the explosive damage. But my guess at this point in time would be that it doesn't do splash damage through the car, which is maybe another thing that some people were considering. The unstable bounce grenades are the exotic version of the grenades, and this is a somewhat interesting item, but it has one major flaw that makes it pretty much unusable in my opinion. This is an exotic version of the frag grenade, and as you throw it, it will bounce around and explode with every bounce. So it's kind of like a cluster grenade that bounces around and kind of persists for a while, and each bounce, it will explode, as I said, and each explosion will deal 40 damage to enemies in the area with the explosion. And this sounds, you know, fine. Like the cluster clinger grenades were solid. This is a reworked or a similar version of that, so maybe it would be decent, right? The main problem is that when you get it from defeating the Spire, it drops a singular grenade. So you do all that effort to defeat the Spire, and then you get one singular grenade. And that just makes it not really something that, even if you want to use this, you have it for one fight and then it's gone. It's not like you get a stack of 3 that you can use several times throughout the course of the game. And with the way to get them being so rare and uncommon, it's not like you can really accumulate a decent stack of these throughout the game. Like, from what I've used of this item, it's worked fine, I guess. Like, you know, I threw it at somebody, they took damage, cool. I used it to eliminate somebody that was, like, chilling inside a building waiting for me to challenge them, who I had weak, and it worked great for that. But even if I thought this was the greatest thing of all time, going through the effort to defeat the Spire, to get a chance to have this, to then only have one of them, I think just makes it kind of pointless to have in the game. I could definitely see this being something that Epic fixes at some point, and then maybe the Spires will drop them in a stack that's greater than just one. Like, I think grenades typically dropped in stacks of 3 when you would get them from looting. But having just one, I think, was very disappointing. And then as of now, there are no NPCs that sell it as well. I think that could also change. A bit ago, there was a screen on the news tab that implied the Night Rose NPC would be selling these grenades, but that is not currently the case. I went to Night Rose today and then didn't get them. And as I talked about with the DMR, I like using 2 weapons, 2 mobility items, or mobility and scanner and heals. And if I look at the grenade, I'm going to be dropping one of my mobility items, or I'm going to be dropping the scanner. And do I think having this one grenade in my inventory provides more value than that double mobility or the scanner would? I personally don't think it does, so I just don't really want to use it from that perspective as well. I think both of these exotic weapons are kind of on the weaker end of how things go. I think neither of them are really that great, and they don't really change the meta for me personally. It does make it a bit harder to get the exotic Sentinel Pump, though, because before there was 3 exotic weapons in the loot pool, so you had like a 33% chance to get them from the Spire. Now with 5 exotic weapons in the loot pool, you have about a 20% chance of getting one particular exotic from the Spire. So if you were really going for any of these exotics, this update is definitely going to hurt your chances of getting any of them. You can actually purchase the exotic Outlaw from the Shadowblade Hope NPC at Supernova Academy. And then the exotic burst pistol can be purchased from the Jonesy NPC, who is also at Supernova Academy. Both of these require you to do some expertise quest to level up to be able to purchase them. But if you really like either of these exotics, you've probably already done that expertise quest already anyways, because you just have to like deal damage with the weapons, or like that category of weapon. So if you're very intent on getting the Outlaw, the burst pistol, or the DMR, the NPC can give you them, but the pump you need to actually defeat the Spire for, and so there's just going to be less exotic pumps to go around, or you're less likely to get it from, you know, defeating the Spire. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like some more. Let me know what you guys think of these weapons down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.